Okay.
We made it. Listen,
Wow.
everyone, Facebook changed stuff on us and we had a little bit of trouble going live, but we made it. We're here. We're live.
And I think Mike is rarely on these when we have technical issues, right?
Yeah, that's true. He's a good luck charm. So thank you for watching. This is Glenview Group Facebook Live session. This is the RIOS series where we go over the recycling industry operating standard. Every week, we take one section from the standard, we read it, and then we take a deep dive. Maya explains all the information that she has, and I put in some input when I can, and then you get a free hour of consulting. And if you join us live, you can ask questions, join the discussion, and participate however you would like. And if you're watching this after our live session, you can go to info@glenviewgroup.com, or you can email info@glenviewgroup.com to ask any questions that you have with regards to the session or with regards to the RIOS standard. So, Maya, shall we dive in?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Favorite. I technically could say that I'm a veteran of the scrap industry when it comes to RIOS, because I've been in this industry since before RIOS original was published. Hold on, I have somebody at my door. So Asal, you go ahead, start reading.
Okay, so we'll get into it. And yes, Maya has so much experience in the recycling industry, both as a consultant and as a compliance officer. So she can answer any question you have and get you certified to the RIOS standard very easy. So 3.2, improvement planning. Recyclers shall continuously improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the RIOS management system to prevent nonconformities and improve product and service quality.
Yes, hi. So I was surprised. My husband surprised me today.
Aw.
Because I've been in the office before the kids woke up. So it's kind of nice to see him. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, Asal, thank you very much for the gifts.
Oh, yes, Asal, he's saying thank you for yesterday as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Asal, you're going to have to kind of go back to that slide so I can see the exact wording, but continual improvement really is, or improvement planning is part of every single ISO-based standard out there, right? And in order to really improve your business processes with or without getting certified or accredited, every business has a process, whether it's documented or not, to improve, to ensure the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of their business, right? And now in this case, we're calling our business compliant with recycling industry operating standard. And the intention of improvement planning is to minimize customer complaints, ensure the quality of our services and our products, and of course, to make sure that the customers are getting what they're paying for, right? The reason that I'm mentioning paying for is because when it comes to recycling industry, everything is connected to the weight. And the weight is the key quality when it comes to the scrap industry. So it's very important that the quality aspect of the RIOS is implemented when it comes to the improvement of products and services to minimize the non-conformities. Because most of the time, if there's a non-conformity related to a recycling industry, it's either related to the grade of metal or plastic or material being traded, or to the actual weight. So really, when it comes to improvement planning here, this is where we've seen recyclers in the last, I don't know, at least a decade, trying to improve and automate their scales. And when it comes to regulations, when it comes to that, we also have requirements within the state that require certain certifications or I guess trainings in order to maintain that quality related to the weight. So the improvement planning is just kind of like intro saying, yep, you have to have this in place because this is going to lead you to all of the other things that I just mentioned.
And I think that improvement planning should be very connected to change management planning, which we're going to read later on. But a lot of your improvement projects are going to require an analysis and management of the change or the improvement that you're implementing. So when you, as a recycler, initiate an improvement project, don't forget to do a change management analysis as well. Establishing goals, 3.2.1. In order to achieve QESH improvement, senior management shall establish written QESH goals. Goals may apply to the entire operations or may be specific to a particular function, responsibility, product, or service.
So this is where you are measuring your improvement planning. And this is where you are measuring your performance of your management system. When we're talking about non-conforming product, you will probably monitor and measure the amount of spend as it relates to the non-conforming product, whether it is generated from your facility or generated by your suppliers. So that's just one example. The same thing, or if you're going to have claims, how many claims or what is the percentage of claims that you have as it related to quality. Those are some of the goals that are kind of general related just to quality. I'm not mentioning the EH&S right now, right? This is where we can take a look at goals related to, for example, environmental incidents, health and safety incidents, or health and safety, or the lost time as related to accidents, right? We want to have that at a minimum or to none. So really, in order to achieve your improvement, you have to measure it. And these goals are helping you measure to see whether you are going in the right direction when it comes to implementing of your improvement plan.
And the goals should be reviewed probably periodically to see if there's like any changes to them, because if there's a goal that we're constantly meeting because our threshold may be too low or too high, maybe we should adjust so that it gives us more of a push to improve. So that's something that we incorporate in the management review procedure, where we look at the goals, we look at whether we achieve them, and then what are we going to do differently next year to continue this improvement process.
Yeah, and depending on, the review, you're right, Asal, a review has to happen, and depending on the types of goals and the time frame, you may actually want to implement more frequent analyses of your goals before the due date, because if you're not on the right track, then you have to readjust your plan in order to achieve that end goal by that end date. So again, it completely depends on the type of organization as well and what you're measuring.
Yep. Yeah. Goals shall be, and this is the acronym that we use is SMART, but the standard has it as measurable as appropriate, monitored, communicated, and updated as needed.
So yeah, so I think that's actually what we've just now talked about in terms of measuring it, right? So you can have an objective, which is, the objective can be, I want to improve, I want to minimize my claims, and then how am I going to measure that? Well, the amount of money or percentage of revenue lost as related to claims, and you're going to monitor that measurement month to month. You're going to communicate it as needed, and then if you are not minimizing, or if the amount of revenue you're losing is going up instead of going down, when it comes to claims, then you need to update your plan. So
Right.
I think just kind of like a little circular thing.
Totally. In establishing goals, recyclers shall consider QESH policies, the RIOS footprint, technological options, financial considerations, operational and business requirements, legal requirements, and I think there's a couple more, the views of stakeholders, opportunities for improvement from its monitoring and measuring activities, enhancement of customer satisfaction, and enhancement of product and service quality.
Yes.
I'll go back to this first slide and then we'll
First, I want to say shall consider. It doesn't mean you have to have a goal related to each single one of these, because for the most part, these are integrated or they connect to each other, right? So if I have my policy is based on my RIOS footprint, which also takes into consideration my legal requirements, right? So for example, when it comes to environmental management or health and safety management, when it comes to your environmental performance or incident performance, that should directly relate to those three: your OHS policy, RIOS footprint, and legal requirements. Now, your technological options, financial considerations, and business requirements, those are again all together, right? So when it comes to, let's say, on-time delivery, right? So what are the what is the technology that we need to implement within our receiving, shipping, packing, storage facilities in order to ensure that we are processing material in a timely manner, we don't have a backlog, that we are able to ship out material in a timely manner to our customers. And obviously, what our goal is or improvement plan when it comes to that is going to depend on the amount of resources or financial consideration, whether or not we can spend that. So I just wanted to give those two examples because I don't want you to get overwhelmed saying, oh my goodness, I have to have a goal related to every one of these. It is up to you to really take a look at this and connect them and say, yep, I have considered all of these, and based on this, I'm only measuring 3 goals, or based on this, I'm only measuring, you can also have 5, 10 goals, right? But also you want to make sure that your goals are smart. So that's why you might not want to have 10. It's more efficient and effective maybe to have 3 good ones.
Mm-hmm. Plans for goal achievement. Recyclers shall integrate actions to achieve goals within the RIOS management system. Each goal shall have written plans that describe what will be done, identify resources required for completion, assign responsibility for tasks, assign due dates for tasks, and define how the results will be evaluated.
Yeah,
this is very similar to 9001 requirements.
Oh, for sure. I was going to say, Asal, I think you can go ahead and elaborate on this. This is very straightforward, I think, and this is applied and or copied across all of these standards.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things here is when you are considering these things and documenting them, then this can feed into your communication, your awareness, and your training procedures. Because we can establish goals all day, but if our personnel don't know what they are, or if we're not communicating what they are, then how are we even making sure that people are going to achieve those goals? So I think that's very important. Again, the goals Maya mentioned, they should be smart. So they should be able to be measured. They should be they have a time frame for achieving the goal. And you have to establish how you're going to evaluate the goal. So what is the calculation method is going to be, What is the threshold for when you're meeting the goal and where you're not meeting the goal? How often you are analyzing it, and what things you're doing, you're adjusting your system to meet the goal. Like Maya mentioned before, monitor them regularly so that you can adjust your performance in order to meet the goal if you are not on track at the time. The responsibility is very important because it goes back to the communication and awareness aspect of the goals. And the resources that are required, that's top management / leadership responsibility or duty to provide the organization the resources that they require to meet those goals. And that could be technological resources, financial resources, and most of the time it's time resources. So time management is very important to grant the time to your employees that is required to be able to contribute to and maintain your management system. Is there anything, Maya, that I missed?
No, not really. I mean, you covered everything and more. And in terms of implementation, I think it can be as easy as an Excel chart where you list all your goals and all of the columns have this there, and then you move forward into your month-to-month data. So the actual form to comply with this can be so easy. And templates are available with us for sure. You can email us for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Change management.
Oy, oy, oy.
This is one slide, but it's very dense, right? Because change management is big. So I'm going to read the standard and we're going to dive into it. Recyclers shall document written plan for changes that impact the RIOS management system. A, changes shall be documented and evaluated to determine potential QESH impacts in the RIOS footprint prior to implementation. And B, change management plans shall update the RIOS management system to control important risks.
Yeah, so I mean, in a sense, when you are moving forward to implement any standard, including RIOS, you are going through change management of your process, right? So in a sense, the whole entire management system is a change management process. Within that process, you need to have a change management process because you may need to change different parts of that management system, right? So that's what this requirement talks about. And so number one, you have to have a written document. So that is a requirement for you to have a written procedure on how you're going to approach changes. Now, you can identify changes as, on-the-go emergency changes, medium level, and then of course, long-term plans. And all of those can have different levels or different methods that you are approaching them. But it's very important that you, number one, identify what that change is. Number two, decide whether you're going to move forward with it or not. And then, of course, you need to take you kind of need to look back at your RIOS footprint, in a sense, to see if that change is going to affect your footprint, how, and for you to add and or recalculate your measures for that RIOS footprint there, right? So that's in terms of that. So once you have done that first part, which is approval and risk assessment, for lack of a better word, right? Because that's what it is, a risk assessment. Then you need to put together a plan. Again, depending on the level of a change that you're doing, that plan can be as simple as, one action item, as for example, having multiple programs that are feeding into a long-term change. And of course, you have to take into consideration procedures and processes, as well as training that you need to implement prior to signing off on or saying this change management has been completed. So that is a very high level analysis and interpretation of this very short slide.
Yes, I do have a question, and I want to ask you, like, what is a good way to manage this type of scenario, which occurs a lot. So say you have a change management plan, and it's maybe like a big project that you're implementing, and you draft a plan, and it has to be prior to implementation, right? And then as you're doing your implementation, you discover new information or different information that changes that plan or adds to it. How do you kind of manage that in terms of like documentation and dissemination of the information?
So it would just have to do with change management of your change, yeah, record change updates kind of a thing, record control when it comes to change management. So you can have your change management plan or plans documented in any way you want. And if you identify that the change to that plan is needed, you make that change on that specific date. You notify everybody this is the change. And you want to, of course, keep the records or archive the records of the previous one. So now how do you manage that? Again, if it's in a form, it can be as simple as, you know, you are actually logging everything related to that action item based on dates, right? So if you change something on that specific date, then you just change everything related to it on that same date or close to that date prior to moving to that, right? If that maybe even include, you know, having to do another risk assessment, and you go to your risk assessment database, you conduct it, and there should probably be a question on like what initiated this risk assessment or reevaluation. You will say, well, this specific change management on this date, we discovered this, or we have assessed this. So again, depending whether you're using change management, is it just a paper form, or is it an online kind of like electronic database software? Or it's multiple people managing their own projects, right? And where internal communication is key.
Right. So I guess that really depends on, I mean, it's a case by case scenario, right? So it depends on the organization, it depends on the impact, and it depends on like the magnitude of the change. And it sounds like it's just the record control is key here. If you need multiple revisions of your plan, then make a system where you have multiple revisions or updates or changes.
Yeah.
So thank you. Before we go, I want to kind of dive into, or I just want to mention that, and maybe you can elaborate on this. There are a lot of systems that you would have in place that has change management built into it. So the only example right now I can think of is your document control procedure, where changing or adding a new document, updating a document, that change will go through that document control procedure, and that is controlled in that way. So you're, as a recycler or as a certified RIOS recycler, you're going to have a lot of change management procedures built into your already established quality procedures, which Glenview Group has experience and will help you establish and write, and you don't have to worry about meeting all these requirements because we're going to do that for you. Any closing thoughts on this section?
No, and I think, Asal, you make a good point in terms of that it seems like that every single, really, even, I was going to actually go on a different tangent because I was going to say design and development. And I'm like, wait, really? We didn't do that, right? But even, let's say, when it comes to customer account management, and handling your customers, the customer orders may change. So there is change management you have to implement when it comes to customer orders. When it comes to your orders with suppliers, And when it comes to the changes in trade, right? You have to be able to manage those. And again, it's a question. Are these changes on the fly? Are they emergency changes, or they're long-term plan changes? So you can have one process that identifies all of your change management processes and functions as they relate to the different requirements. Or you can, again, break them down as document control, and document control is going to have different change management process within it just for documents, right? And then, of course, my customer account management system, if customer has any changes, I have a change management process that is documented with my customer account management systems. So again, Asal is really on point in terms of every single department within the organization, every single function is going to have to go through change management. It's just, what is that change and how is that recorded and documented? It's very important for you to be able to show that during your audits.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, and join us next week. We are going to start on section 4, the implementation section of the RIO standard. If you have any questions with regards to RIOS or any of the management standards that we work in, please email us at info@glenviewgroup.com. Go to our website, www.glenviewgroup.com, click on the training calendar, and you can see the list of all the Facebook Lives that we're doing for the year and all the master classes. Register for the master classes as soon as possible because space is limited to 15 people. And we do that so that we can give you all the attention that you need to document your system within a week.
Yes.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, and thank you for your patience. I'm
Yes,
gonna call my husband now. All right, talk to you soon, everybody. Bye. Thank you, Asal.
Thank you.
Bye.